Well, this broadcast is inappropriate for all ages right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. I am Cameron. We're here today to talk about things and stuff. Salutations. I am Cameron and I am conversation ready. We will get it. But we are here today to talk about things and stuff we've been watching, such as Thor Ragnarok. Hey, Thor. Oh, where's my finger? How's that tricep there? Ooh. Okay, we're gonna not do that again, I'm sure. But move. Thor Ragnarok is probably the funniest of the three movies. It's vastly improved by having Hulk involved. That's not a spoiler because they put basically the whole giant fight between Thor and Hulk in the trailer. Because we don't believe in preserving anything anymore. It's give it all away for free so they'll want to come see it again and pay for it. Yeah. You would think the marketing teams would suggest, will you stop that? Jesus, you went to town. God damn cat. So you would think the marketing teams would hold back just a little bit. And some of these would be like, no, you got to tease it out. They don't know how to tell stories. They shouldn't be fucking advertising movies. Fuck that shit. So, of course, we got together on Rabbit/Camerai. I actually bought this because I knew it was such a funny movie. It was definitely worth. I think it was worth paying $20 for it. But I understand if you want it to go on sale, you want to wait later till it's like 15, 10, whatever. It's definitely not my favorite Marvel movie by far. I think the Guardians movies feel a lot better, and we'll explore a little bit of that starting next week. But and Thor is definitely not my favorite Marvel hero. I don't know what it is. I like Norse mythology a little bit, like not enough to like do tons and tons of research, but like I knew like Fenrir was a wolf. I get some stuff mixed up sometimes, like Odin's wife or first wife or whatever it is. Loki's done a bunch of fucked up shit. Ragnarok is supposed to be like the end of times. It's basically just an apocalyptic scenario. But as far as I can tell, they really hit all those same kind of points for Ragnarok. They definitely deviate from the comics because this is a movie created in a universe in which they have broken away unrecoverably from the comics. Like we can't go back and have most of the events properly at this point. Civil War is fucked. Infinity War is fucked too. Like I don't. It's gonna be a near insult at this point to call it that. And I don't know what their plan is because they're just having fun making movies and they're not paying attention to what the core stories are that they're referencing here. So we're slowly getting farther and farther away from this being made for fans of comics and being made by people who want to make money. Because the movies are popular, so they're just going to keep referencing the movies instead of the original product. The beginning of this movie definitely starts the pace out. Let's go ahead and get into it a little bit. I was laughing my ass off this whole movie, but it starts with him in a cage for whatever reason. I have no idea how he got there, how he pretended to get caught, anything, because he's Thor. Like, that's part of the reason why I fucking don't like him, is because it's a Superman problem. It's, honestly, it's like, oh, what's the problem? Throw Thor at it. Oh, look, the problem's solved. So if you have smarter villains like Loki, it definitely helps get around him. But there's not a lot of things on Earth, at least, on Terra, that can stop or even, like, give Hulk or Thor an impasse. So, like, Hulk's always battling himself. That's always Hulk's thing. Where they make a monster that's another version of Hulk, like the Abomination. Or they put him against Thor, who can actually match him beat for beat, it would seem. It would seem. I don't know. I mean, like, it's become like a whole science of, like, how to deal with a Hulk. Which is why they try to send him to space. Which is why we should have had a Planet Hulk movie. I Okay, so we kind of got one. Not a very good one, but that's fine. Um, I got all that from Thor being in a cage. So he's like talking to the skeleton because he's apparently been going insane, and then he ends up dangling by the chains he's bound in from the cage, talking to this guy, and the pace of the movie is set when he tells him to wait when he turns away from him because he's just it's here. That's so he's here and he's just kind of like swinging, right? And so it's just a slow rotation, and he even brings it up himself. He's like, "I'm not doing this at all. It's just I'm coming back around. It's totally doing it on its own." So they have this little bit of banter, and the guy seems to know that he's beaten, but he doesn't want to go out without a fight because he knows that he's got to get his crown or his big eyebrow onto the eternal flame and cause Ragnarok himself. I can't remember Lava Dude's name. He's going to be Lava Dude the entire time we're talking about it, whatever. But Thor ends up punching his light out. And so the source of all his power. Thor kind of takes it as a trophy. I think he basically straps it to his back. And it becomes a cool little backpack for a little bit. But he's got Mew Mew. I'm sorry, Mjolnir. Kat Dennings isn't involved. We don't have to invoke Mew Mew. He ends up fighting off all these rock monsters. He tries to get a teleport back, and apparently New Heimdall is too busy impressing ladies with a couple of M16s rather than doing his job. Like, one of them actually points it out to him. Scourge, I think is his name, played by Carl Urban. And honestly, as much as I like Carl Urban, that is not a role that does him justice or well at all. Like, yeah, he kind of like turns it around all the way at the end, but oh my god, I'm telling you, it's just watch him be a useless dickbag for most of the movie. It's not how I'm used to seeing Carl Urban. I think the role was kind of beneath him. I think you could have given the role to someone else, and it would have been just as well. And you might have even got like more of a snivelly guy, but the idea was that he was a great warrior. He's just very capitalistic. I get that because, like, yeah, and you look at too that first thing. He's got stuff from all over the place, all over the place, and he's like this weird pack rat. And like, I get the Heimdall has very little in there, like in his place of work. He just sits there and looks at the universe, and so he's entertained enough, I guess. Maybe. It's like watching, it's like if you always had TV on, I guess. But it's just really weird. I don't know. And then the fact that Heimdall could be banished, or exiled or whatever, was just preposterous. So having a new Heimdall like that without Heimdall dying in combat, not buying it at all. So it's kind of like the first red flag that like something's amiss. I don't know what Loki's plan was, because Scourge was supposed to announce Thor, so he's running, and like Thor flies all the way to Loki, gets all the way to the end of the resolution, and then Scourge shows up and goes, "And Thor," or whatever he actually says. God. Oh yeah, and he's still covered in brain slime from the dragon. That poor dragon that like got his head teleported in with Thor. And it turns out it's not a teleport. It's a faster than light beam, essentially. So that kind of indicates that you need a direct line, which is preposterous. And then that also indicates that like you can actually do things while you're in the beam, such as fight, which we see, which I thought was weird because I thought it was a teleportation, because the Rosa Bridge, the way they described it, is a wormhole that instantaneously travels you from blank to blank. Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't explain like what the process of that is. So I mean, sure, it's a faster than light tunnel. it's a hyperspeed travel if you're a Star Wars nerd, but if like everyone else understands FTL, it's fine. It's fine. So I mean, but basically, the long skinny of it is that like Thor watches Matt Damon perform as Loki, and then he discovers or he outs Loki as impersonating Odin. Gets Loki to reveal where he dropped Odin off. Apparently, Odin. Again, long story short. Odin's hanging out in Norway, but while they're trying to figure this out, Doctor Strange ends up kidnapping Loki, because by this point he's taken over as the head of protector of Earth as far as magical concerns are. The thing that people don't realize is that Thor's actually a cosmic level hero. He goes and fights on like out in the universe. He doesn't typically hang out on Earth all that much. But the funny bit of Marvel is supposed to cover the period of his life where he does hang out on Earth more often than he does at any other point in his life. So there's that. And Doctor Strange's deal is that he is protecting on a cosmic level again against magical threats. And so there are organizations and magic users that would probably step up to that and try to get past him. But typically it's like greater demons and things like that and planetary level threats that he goes. Because like even like when Civil War happens, he becomes Switzerland. He declares neutrality, and like that's his thing. So Doctor Strange is always about defense. So like he set up the perimeter alarm and put Loki's ID in there essentially. So that was kind of cool that he had him fall for a half hour. And then Thor's hammer as an umbrella. I don't know if that's like a Loki spell or just general magic, but I really thought it was interesting to see it in another shape like that. Let's see. Yeah, but like Doctor Strange takes them both to Odin. Though it would have been cool to see Loki and Doctor Strange actually fight. That would have been interesting. Because they would have tried to like out magic each other a little bit, and I think Strange probably would have had the upper hand. It would have been weird because it would have been Loki actually having the heavy hammer, and Doctor Strange being the more mobile one. So if Loki ever like hit Strange, he'd be probably dead, but Strange probably wouldn't let that happen. Yeah, but so Odin talks to them for a little bit, and he's like, "My son's an eye patch." That's not what he said, but he warns them about the goddess of death. And you would think, with all this bullshit, like Odin would have better solutions to things, especially like other than like sealing someone away so that they can get crazier and then come back for revenge. At least eliminate him, because he made a very clear point during one of the other movies that like they're not gods, they're Asgardians. They're born, they live, they die, even if it's on a much grander scale in all respects. So Odin's talking, and then he's like, "Oh, it's my time," and he turns into a bunch of fairies. I don't know what that was. And then Thor talks to him like in a memory later, I guess, but. And then Hela almost immediately comes out of a dimensional gate. I don't know if she could like see like the power levels on her prison like drop or what. But one of the most critical parts of the entire movie happens like right here. It's where Thor throws his hammer, because what else is he gonna do? And then Hela destroys it. So it's a whole part of Thor's identity is taken away in that moment. So it's something he's struggling with the entire movie. One of my favorite weapons in the Marvel Universe, honestly. Even if I don't like Thor, I think Mjolnir is a cool concept. And it does interesting things, because it's like quasi-sentient because of the level of magic put into it. But we see later, like, Hela is actually holding Mjolnir at one point, so either at one point she was just worthy enough, or it was bound to her, or she made the damn thing, because her god power or whatever is just to pull weapons out of her armpit. By the way, which is not in $1,000,000 butt game. That is not one I would take. Like, I like being able to put my arm around somebody and not have to worry about spears shooting on my armpits and through them. Be a really weird social disorder to have. Let's see. Where are we at? So just them fighting with each other is interesting. And then, of course, Loki's a fucking coward and an idiot. So he calls for an evacuation, and then Hela just rides that onto Asgard. So her biggest problem was trying to get to Asgard, and Loki solved it for her. And then she knocks them both out of the Rosen Bridge, which I still think that faster than light fight is interesting. And you got to think too is that as they're traveling faster than light and they get pushed out, like the time distortion there is significant. And Loki's been there for like a few months or a few weeks or whatever, and then Thor's only been there like a few hours maybe. When they get to Sakaar, anyways. So it's, that part is interesting. And you got to think too, like they build Thor up and up too, as like being able to take on Hulk 1-on-1, and Hela's maybe not a stronger fighter, but at least equivalent with more offense. So does that mean that like she could take on Hulk? And they have Fenrir bite him where he bleeds. I thought that was a little much, but if Hulk got hit by a planet, maybe that would be enough. So there's got to be a limit somewhere, you would think. The whole idea of Hulk is that there isn't, but in this movie universe they've created, who knows? I called this place Trash Planet where they ended up, because they both crash land on the same place after breaking out of the FTL. Oh yeah, and it turns out it's not even like Scourge there guarding. What's happening? Oh, don't throw up. What are you doing? All the time with you. God damn. So Scourge is in there. He's been demoted to janitor, and it's 2 of the Warriors 3, so they're dead like immediately, no qualms. And then the Asian guy like takes it later, but he manages to do a little bit. But he had an army at his back, so you can't really. It's apples to oranges, really, isn't it? But yeah, on the Trash Planet, that was fun. I'm really curious too, because this didn't make sense to me now that I think about it. The Slavers try to take Thor when he shows up. And the Valkyrie shows up and says, no, I'm taking him. And then they're like, we already have him. And he's like, oh, I'll just kill all of you. And then she does. She shoots them all and takes Thor. But they show up later. And I don't understand that whatsoever. I don't understand like how they come back to life or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't make any sense to me. So let's long story short this, because this is actually one of the duller parts of the movie. I mean, there's fun stuff like the melt stick. The fact that Thor can get shocked at all is interesting. So the Valkyrie, we don't know she's a Valkyrie at this point, but the Valkyrie ends up taking him to the Grandmaster in like this huge device chair or whatever, just to keep him in line. And so Thor finds Loki. He makes some friends. What else happens there? Yeah, so Loki's talking to him via illusion. And they're all prepping for this fight he's going to do against the champion, who turns out to be Hulk. Because if Hulk's on the planet, why would you not be? There's no way to know like how Hulk ever got there, but in this version of the story, anyways. But Hulk should have just taken over the fucking planet. There's nothing that would on that planet that would have stopped Hulk. Maybe the Valkyrie, because she gives him a little bit of resistance, but he's playing with her because he likes her, one way or the other. So like they train or whatever, and maybe he likes her because she doesn't break as easy as everyone else. I don't know. So, like, back on Asgard, Hela starts redecorating. She's breaking the ceilings, revealing the old art. She goes down to the floor, like, for the catacombs. Like, Fenrir's there. There's all these dead soldiers and everything, or they look dead, and then she uses the eternal flame from the treasury room to, like, revive everything. Now, I can't figure out if they were undead to begin with, and she reinitialized them. I can't figure out if they're now undead and they were alive before, or what. I don't understand what the rules are. We're never told anything in regards to this. But she now has an army that she doesn't fucking really need, honestly. Maybe it's to help some of the exhaustion. And then she's got her big bad wolf, because Fenrir is fucking awesome. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, Stanley gives Thor a haircut back in the arena, and he goes and fights Hulk, which is an amazing series of fights. And like, it's just so funny. Like, every like third step is either funny or ooh, because you get to see like Hulk and Thor both smash each other. You get to see God of Thunder go lightning heavy. You see Thor wield this hammer that's as big as he is, because it's made for Hulk. Oh man, there's so much fun to be had in this one fight, and it's all ended with some bullshit, because I don't know what the motivation really is there, but like the Grandmaster zaps Thor so that he and falls down, so Hulk hits him after that, and then they wake up together, and I guess the Grandmaster thought Thor was gonna die, but he didn't. So and I really think Thor woke up to them dressing him for a funeral. I really thought that's what it was, because it's like 4 or 5 girls that all run out at the same time, like, oh shit, he's alive. Let's see. Okay, yeah, then Hulk's in the hot tub. A Hulk in the hot tub. The way he says it's so funny. And then Naked Hulk is a great joke. We even get some green butt on the screen. Very nice. Hulk doesn't want to leave. He's finally like found a place where people accept him. They're not all mad and afraid of him all the time. And I honestly think like he is into the Valkyrie. I think like he found everything that he could want there, and he doesn't have to worry about hurting her as much. And like, because I'm not saying like you need to picture the Hulk in nuptials. But Hulk smash, and like I maintain that like you've got, as a super, you have to be careful in your physical recreational activities, because if you hug somebody too hard, they're broken. Period. Done. Let alone do anything else to them at super speeds or strength. And you think you can control yourself in every single moment of that? I guarantee you She-Hulk's put dudes in the hospital. Just for loving them. Just for loving you. We hurt the ones we love. Okay, so anyway, so back on Asgard, the people are revolting against Hela, because why the fuck wouldn't you? Heimdall, who apparently, like, ditched all his shiny armor and, like, became a ranger. I don't know. Started, like, escorting people to a safe house so that, like, they wouldn't get slaughtered, I guess. It's really weird. It's like we're not really told much on that end. We're just given, like, bits and pieces. And that's fine. We don't need that story. It wasn't that important. The movie went pretty long, if I remember right. It's a ladybug. Kill it or eat it or something, but don't just mess with it. Cat, you're gonna go blind looking at that light. Jesus. My cats are stupid. So, okay, let's see. Skip. So, okay, so Thor comes up with the barest amount of a plan, and he needs Hulk. He needs... and Hulk won't do it, so he's like, well, help me get the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie won't do it. But he manages to convince her even just a little bit as he goes to do it on his own, honestly. Like, that's what got them on his side to begin with, is that, like, he's like, well, if you're not going to help me, I'm just going to go do it on my own, and it'll just be that much harder. And really, that's a good way to approach life. Is, hey, I can't see anybody helping me with this. No one, everyone refuses, so I'll stand up and I'll be the hero, or I'll be the main character in this story. And you take up the arms yourself. That's what you do. And not arms per se, but like you've got that project that you want to do, you go do it yourself. If no one else joins you, fine. Man, keep getting burpy. So Thor finds the Quinjet. There's a whole lot of jokes about Thor not being the strongest Avenger. Point Break. Because Stark, he finds a recording of Black Widow as Hulk's ripping the Quinjet open to try to get Thor to stay, because Hulk likes Thor. And then, let's see. Oh, yeah, back at the Grandmaster's HQ, Loki and Valkyrie both offer to go track down and get Thor and Hulk for the Grandmaster, so Valkyrie ends up knocking out Loki and holding him hostage. I don't know, because Loki's gonna betray Thor and them, so like it's inevitable, right? It's the curse your sudden inevitable betrayal. And then at this point too, like Hulk's downsized to Banner because he saw Scarlett Johansson, and that was his kind of trigger to like come back down. Is like, oh, lady I love. Thor disguises him very well by doing something like this. He basically is the Great Cornholio. God help us all if Beavis had Thor's power. Beavis was worthy. What kind of world would that be? Jesus. And like, there's a whole city of people celebrating Hulk, just throwing it in Banner's face, literally. And then I don't know if Valkyrie always knew that Bruce was the Hulk, but like, there's this really fun thing. They do it like 3 times, or like 2 or 3 times. It's like, I feel like I know you. It's like I feel like I know you too. And you can play it off to Valkyrie being drunk, and then Banner just being confused because he's been hulked for so long. But fuck, who knows? So Valkyrie goes out and hunts him down, joins the team officially. The Revengers. That was such a stupid moment. Thor wants to use the Devil's Anus. I don't know why they name things like that. Which is just a big wormhole to fly back out of from Sakaar, from like the little pocket dimension it's in. Or whatever it is, because who knows? The rules are really loose out in the cosmos. Loki offers to help them get a ship. Of course, he tries to betray him, and Thor manages to zap him with one of those things. What's fucked up, and I thought this was really out of character, even for Thor, was that like not only he slapped him on the back for it, and then he turns it on, and the whole time Loki's like this. And he's just going, Thor's talking to him. I'm like, okay, he's going to let him out. He's going to let him out. He's going to let him out. And he's like, oh, I'll just put this over here. He just leaves him to be shocked infinitely until someone finds him. And then who the fuck knows, right? So I thought that was really kind of a breaking character that like you don't normally see. Let's see. Of course, they steal the orgy ship of all the ships. Interesting. Which, it really didn't seem like that was a ship that was properly equipped for orgies. It didn't seem to have enough space. There weren't, like, beds. Maybe he would park it and then they would go out on top of the ship. I don't know. I don't know what they get up to. But the ship that the revolutionaries end up stealing, like, that's the ship I would have wanted to take. I think the Valkyrie says there's about 2 ships that really are qualified for it. And so those are the 2 ships. And of course, the revolutionaries taking Loki is both a blessing and a mistake. But I don't know. We'll skip all that. That was a stupid conversation. Though I will mention that get help is fucking funny. I want to refer. I don't want to do that to somebody, but I want to refer to that scenario with somebody. It's like because it's like when you've got scam artists and stuff. It's like you have plays you can run. and get help is fucking hilarious. He's like, and you can see why Loki didn't want to do it, because it's very much like, oh, my brother needs help. He needs help, and as people come to see what's wrong, you throw the injured person at the other party and knock them out. And this movie is fucking funny, and I've been skipping over a lot of the independent jokes because they don't fit into storyline anyways, but they don't really detract from the story either, and that's part of what makes this movie gold. Oh man, so as they're driving the orgy ship to the Devil's Anus, and they're getting pursued by everybody, the Valkyrie shows up in her ship. Of course, it gets wrecked at some point, and Valkyrie starts jumping from ship to ship like she's a damn playing Frogger, and then Thor's like, that looks fun, let me go too. And Banner gets thrown into flying a spaceship for the first time, which I thought was incredible. Like, just the idea of it. It's like, you've never flown a ship before. Here, take the controls. And it's not like with 7 PhDs, Banner's had a lot of time to play video games. I'm just saying. So the revolutionaries grab Loki. They finally get through the Devil's Anus. And back to Asgard. Scourge at this point is Hela's lackey, because he's the only one who ever bent the knee. Everyone else is like just refuted her, which you would think would set something off. Like, maybe I'm not ruling the right people or ruling these people effectively. So she made him an executioner. Yeah. So because Heimdall managed to make it back and steal the Bifrost sword, which he damn well should have kept with him. And what happens? Oh yeah, so Thor's team is armoring up, and they finally go after everybody, and they split up to do a couple things. And the Valkyrie gets a new weird costume. I can't say I liked it. I can't say that like it really matched what I think of when I think of Valkyries, because I think of kind of stuff Thor wears, honestly, like plate. Whether it's accommodating or not is another thing entirely, because you got to put boobs somewhere. They got to go somewhere. So if you make plate to hold them to you, it helps. And then it just comes to a matter of how close you can tighten the plate. But it would be better than the skin tight weird suit she got. I don't know. Yeah, she was cute enough to show off, but I don't know. It's like the one thing that took me out of the movie, and I was just like, what? Okay, sure, it's a movie, let's go. But of course, Thor's taunting Hela, so he distracts her. Fenrir is guarding the Bifrost gate, so the civilians that Heimdall's leading can't get there. So they try to retreat. There's an army and Scourge on the other side. So it's a pincer, if you know that term. So if my head is where the civilians are, you've got the wolf over here, and you've got the army over here, and the idea is that they're going to come in and pinch like this. So Banner ends up finally stepping up to join the fight because he sees what's going on, and the hero in him just won't let it go. But of course, he doesn't transform right away. He can't transform in the ship. He's got to jump down, and he leaps down very heroically and bounces off the Rainbow Bridge. I can't believe they put that in the movie, because even the dog is like, what the fuck is this? And he like goes over, he smells him, he's just like, what the fuck? And he like shakes him and throws him, or he goes past him to get to the civilians, and then Hulk grabs him from behind and throws him down, and then Valkyrie's like, oh, I did him, or whatever she was thinking at the time. But Thor versus Hela is an interesting fight. The fact that he can go so long fighting her versus how quickly everyone else died was kind of an awe-inspiring moment. You really look at it and you're like, wow, okay, cool. Though she does kind of blow out his eye. That was a very interesting way to deal with that too. So it wasn't like his eyeball hanging there. It wasn't like a normal socket that he's just like, oh, my eye's missing. they blacken out the whole thing as if like she hit him with a fireball, but it was just a dagger. I don't know. What do I know what the gods use? So like during all that's happening, like the revolutionaries show up to try to rescue the civilians. So Hulk's fighting Fenrir. Some of the remaining army in Heimdall fight Scourge and the army. Well, not Scourge, but the undead army. And Valkyrie's. Oh yeah, she's unloading into the wolf early on, but she ends up going down and killing a bunch of the skeleton guys too. What's interesting about the way this fight evolves is that as soon as Hulk takes out Fenrir, it ends up reversing the pinch. Because Thor ends up coming in on the far end, and the undead army gets pinched. Because then the Valkyries on the other side, Thor's coming in, plus Heimdall and anyone else who can fight. The Thor uses Mad Lightning on Hela. I'm gonna say it straight up. Like, he uses Mad Lightning. He just says he. I think the quote was something like, he hit her with the biggest bolt of lightning there ever was, and nothing but. So I don't know what the rules are with Hela, because like the Valkyrie even puts a sword through her chest, and nothing. So I don't know. Maybe she regenerates through the power of Asgard. I don't know. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then Scourge throwing down his Executioner's axe is a very like mixed message. I was really confused about this part in particular. Like, he throws it down. It's very dramatic, and it's like, oh, he's gonna join the fight on the hero's side. Nope, he's gonna dress like a woman and hide in the transport with the civilians. And it's all the way until they're boarding his transport, and it looks like he's gonna die anyways, that he steps up to fight. And then he takes Des and Troy. Stupid pun. And proceeds to shoot these skeleton warriors with 3-round bursts on magazines that don't even look like extended magazines. They look like 10-round magazines, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say that those clips are 20-round magazines. They're not even 30-round bananas. So he's got about 7 shots in each one. So if we pretend that when he fires both of them, he's only actually firing one, he's taken out about 14 of these guys. So he eventually runs out of ammo when he hits the bridge. And then I think he grabs a sword and starts swinging after that. But Hela finally sees him, goes, and then kills him, like, on the spot. It's ridiculous. It's just sad how quickly he dies when he finally decides to be a good person. It's like, oh, whatever. So I'm still blown away that Fenrir managed to puncture Hulk's skin. So that basically means that Fenrir is a Hulk in wolf's clothing, if you will. It's ridiculous. So Loki grabs the pleasure vessel and then goes to grab the crown and put it on the eternal flame. Now, granted, they're about 20 feet away from each other with no walls or anything. So if the wrong person entered the room, they could accidentally touch and start Ragnarok. Just saying. And then in between them is the Tesseract of all things, which Loki stops to admire in all this. So I would think at the end of Ragnarok, Loki has the Tesseract. You would think. Because otherwise, it stayed in Asgard and got blown up, which isn't going to happen. Loki manages to put the crown on the Eternal Flame. Lava Dude shoots up. There's lots of fun to have fighting still. That's where the Valkyrie and Thor ends up going toe-to-toe with Hela, and she ends up putting a sword through her chest. How do I feel about this? I don't know. Hela's a cool villain. I think that was kind of the real difference in this, as far as like a plot line goes. With the first two movies, Loki was an interesting villain that definitely kept us going, but he was a better villain in. Was he the villain? Oh yeah, so he was a better villain in the Avengers, where he was like he had a grand plan. He was taking over the planet, and he had an army and secret spies and stuff going on. In Thor, he was very low-key about it. He was like doing essentially political sabotage here and there, and he was using like other worlds to send soldiers and stuff to do things, and it was very And then the elves sucked. I'm just gonna say it. The more and more, every time I think about it, they suck more in my head. It's like, no, why? Why was this a thing I had to put up with? The first two movies had Natalie Portman in them. They get a pass. But I can't imagine doing those villains again. And they had like kind of the same weird plot too. I don't know. But this one, it's like Hela's a dominating villain. It's very much like, we have to stop her. Who knows what she's going to do? Where Loki's just like manipulating things so that he can be king of something. I always wondered, like, why can't you just go be king of Mars where no one is? That's not interesting, right? So you have to subjugate people. Oh yeah, Hulk going to attack the big lava guy because he was not part of any of the discussions because he's off fighting this wolf the whole time. So he gets smashed back and Thor's like, no! He's like, big monster! Bah. It's so cool to see like a real animated talking Hulk that has character and life to him. Honestly amazed at that. And it's reminiscent of in the comics where like real Hulk or where Banner was stuck in Hulk form. Like it was still Banner. Like he had to use science and everything as Hulk, which wasn't easy. You know, like he had to sleep as Hulk. Like it just created all these problems into itself. And then there was a time where he was stuck in Banner mode, and I don't remember if he hulked out as Banner, but like there was a period of time like where he couldn't Hulk, and like they wanted him to Hulk, and he couldn't do it. So it's there's actually a lot to explore with Hulk than you think, and I want to see him come back and do more other than like in other people's movies. He deserves his own movies. Just the Hollywood doesn't know what to do with him because they don't read the comics. Oh yeah, back on the ship, the rock guy's there giving a little speech. As Asgard explodes, and he's like, "Well, never mind. Those foundations are broken." Oh, and he's got his little worm buddy. I was so touched by this. It was like a really sweet, like ending moment, and then they turn into like this really fucking weird joke. So he's like, his buddy apparently is like a worm that was in a mechanical suit before. And I never really pieced that together that like he didn't have limbs. Like he didn't have like limbs like this. Like you and I think of limbs. So oh yeah, sorry. Lava Dude ends up destroying Asgard and Hela in theory, maybe. And then eventually it explodes as the rock guy's talking. I don't remember rock guy's name. So Heimdall reminds Thor that Asgard is a people, so there's still magic to be drawn from. So there's every chance that Thor could have Mjolnir made again, and there could be a Mjolnir 2.0, and then Thor could infuse it with magic to behave like the previous Mjolnir. Or somebody could make a new magic or new one via magic. They need that dying star metal or whatever that he mentions, and that was, I think, supposed to be like a reference to something or a foreshadowing. Like maybe we'll see that through the Collector, who I think is still alive. Like I remember some reference about him still being alive even after all that explosion. But yeah, so yeah, Thor gets an eye patch. He gets the throne. They're heading for Terra or Earth, if you really must. But the joke with the rock guy and his worm buddy, like that was, I mean, it was so sweet that he's carrying his worm guy around. He's like, oh, good for them that they both made it out. He's like, oh, he's been dead. I stepped on him on the bridge. I've just felt horrible about it, so I've been carrying him around all this time. It's like, really? Really? What kind of a weird, awkward necrophilic joke is that? And then the worm guy's like, blah, 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 which I guess means, hey, I'm not dead. And so it's a happy ending. So it's like a happy ending with a weird taste in your mouth. Take that however you want. I don't care. But it's a weird moment. It's a weird way to end this. And even for the weird pace and atmosphere this movie has created from the very beginning of the movie, I still don't think like that fits with everything else. Oh man. Thor Ragnarok, highly suggested. Again, very funny. You'll notice at a certain point especially as they're switching away from like any continuity with the comics, they went funny. They went entertaining with it, and especially after Deadpool. So you see Doctor Strange is very funny. Thor Ragnarok is pretty funny. I really got to look it up and see if we did Doctor Strange, because I have a feeling like we did. And if we didn't, I'm going to put that on the list of things to do too. But next week, we're going to do Guardians of the Galaxy, which is fucking hilarious, and it's feel good, and I can watch it on repeat. It's really, really weird that way. However, I think I'm done talking about movies for tonight. Thank you for listening or watching or whatnot. And join us right here on... Damn, kitty. #WeAreMovieClub. You want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations and they'll take you to other channels. Thanks for watching.